Well, the Tourism Indaba recently took place in Durban, and Nozipho Mbanjwa spoke to Elsia Grandcourt, Director for Africa at the UNWTO. Here's what she had to say about tourism on the African continent.
I think from the discussion this afternoon, the ministerial debate on the state of tourism in Africa, we have seen that there is still a very huge potential that needs to be tapped into in Africa in terms of the development of tourism. There are obviously challenges that need to be addressed, and these are from infrastructure development, planning, product, quality, you name it. There's a series of challenges that is there, but also there is a lot of opportunities in terms of the unique selling points that the continent is endowed with that needs to be developed in order to be able to continuously continue with the trend of attracting tourism in Africa. Because as we've seen since 1995, tourism in Africa has been on the growth, from 19 million to 56 million recorded in the year 2014 for the Africa region.
If you were to give advice to the African ministers, what would you say should be the key priority areas as they seek to grow tourism within their domestic confines as well as in the region?
I think it's very important, first and foremost, that tourism is recognized as a priority in the national agendas of the governments, and UNWTO is essentially working on this. That is why today, if we look at the African continent, we have 16 countries that has received the open letter, which is headed by the UNWTO Secretary General to the head of state, representing the highest level in the country, in order to sensitize and make known the importance of tourism in the development of the economic agenda of the country.
Now, one of the ways that we can gauge whether tourism is a priority or not is by looking at the investment spend that a government will direct towards this particular sector. Are we seeing a growth in the kind of funds that are being directed and allocated to tourism growth?
I think if we look at the development of tourism in Africa, we have really moved from what it was, and there is still the potential to grow. The figures have shown that yes, there is the potential, and a lot of investors are looking to the continent because now is the prime time to invest in Africa, and most of the countries of the continent are working in attracting these companies, but also there is a fact that remains, that there is a big perception about the continent itself. Whenever there is a crisis, whenever there is a situation, it's not talked about where exactly it's happening. We look at Africa as one big country, whereby this is where I think the perception is totally wrong, and this is where we at the UNWTO, we are also working to assist in promoting the brand of Africa, of the continent. In August, especially from the 17th to the 19th, we will have a conference on the image and branding of Africa, specifically to address such issues and try to move away from the perception that is there today about Africa.
That was Elsia Grandcourt, the Director for Africa at the UNWTO.